Welcome to NinjaCast, a photography podcast powered by Studio Ninja, the world's highest rated business management app, built specifically for photographers. Listen and learn as the most successful photographers on the planet share their knowledge to help you transform every element of your photography business. Here's your host, Sally Shaw.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of NinjaCast. Today I'm joined by the awesome Toni Darcy. We're going to be covering all sorts today, from creative portraits through to MagMod system, as Toni is a MagMod Ambassador, right through to shooting in uninspiring locations. Let's get started. Hi Toni, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. It's so lovely to have you on the show and catch up. It's been so long.
I know. Well, obviously with like the last 2 years, it's been a long time, hasn't it? But no, it's nice to see you again.
I think the last time I saw you was on Neil Redfern's Flash course.
Really? That's years ago.
No, it's got to be a good couple of years before COVID even.
Oh my, I think that is possibly even like 8 years ago, maybe. That's mad, isn't it?
So how are things? How have you been? How's business?
Good. Like massively in the height of wedding season, I would say now, as most people are, and obviously catching up after the last couple of years as well. But I'm absolutely loving it, like really, really loving it. I just feel like excited to be back doing what I enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of different this wedding season. I feel like over here in the UK, obviously we've had COVID galore for the last couple of years, and then I feel like this is the first season where we're all properly back to it, hard hitting, with like a lot of stuff to do this summer. So I think normally, you know, kind of July, August, people would be like, oh, I'm burnt out, I've got so many on my list, I've got so many on my backlog. But I think so many people are just loving it this year, aren't they? Because we've just had such a gap of, oh, there's no weddings.
Do you not feel as though the celebrations are even bigger as well? You know, because people have sort of missed out and not seen family. I feel like everyone's even more like hyped up to get together.
Absolutely. People have got no etiquette anymore, and they're just like, let's get drunk, let's party hard, and let's not remember the night.
Yeah.
I love it. So Toni, for our listeners that might not have heard of you, don't know what you do, give yourself a little introduction for us. Talk about how you've kind of come into the industry and your journey so far.
I think I probably started pretty much like most photographers do, in that I had a camera. I actually started with a film camera, just like a hobbyist really. And then eventually got a DSLR, a digital camera. And my first ever couple was actually a friend of a friend. And they actually asked me about 3 years before they were getting married. And I'd never obviously shot a wedding before. And I was like, no, like this isn't what I want to do. Like I don't even feel like competent enough. Come back and ask me like in a year or something, and we'll see like how you're feeling then. Because they were having quite a small wedding, and it was a marquee in the family home, so it was quite low key for them as well. And ended up shooting their wedding. I actually took my mum along as my second shooter, just for like a bit of moral support. Now I just think that's absolutely mad, but it was brilliant. And it kind of just snowballed from there. Like I shot the bridesmaids' weddings, but that first experience was just bonkers. Like I remember the day after, I was just emotional all day. I got so caught up in the wedding itself, and I was like, I love this. I absolutely love it. And I just snowballed from there, and shooting bridesmaids and then their bridesmaids, and then all of a sudden like you're a wedding photographer.
Got a business. I remember shooting my first wedding, and I came home and I turned to my partner and I said, never ever again. I was like, I don't even know why I've just done that. I'm never doing that ever again. And then nearly 10 years later,
you're still doing it.
That's all I do.
It is bonkers, isn't it?
It's crazy. Absolutely.
Did you have a bad experience then, or is it just the pressure?
No, I think it was just like the wedding hangover kicked in. The next day. I was exhausted, my back was killing me. I was like, I think I'm quite a person that puts a lot of pressure on myself, so I just had a full day of pressure. Where I was like, I need to get this, I need to make sure I've done this, where am I supposed to be for this, and what do I do here? And there was just like cogs were turning constantly. I was exhausted. And you'd think now, like, it's second nature, isn't it? It just happens. And you just, don't even think about what you need to do or where you need to be. Your body just takes you there.
Yeah.
But I remember vividly coming home and saying, I don't know what on earth I was thinking, never again. And it's crazy how things change along the way, isn't it?
Well, I think for people like yourself that might like feel like you're putting yourself under pressure, I just thrive on it. I absolutely love it. I love feeling under pressure, and I think I work better because you can't necessarily think. You've just got to do. Yeah.
Definitely. So kind of that's how you got into weddings. That's how you became a wedding photographer. What's business like for you now?
Mad. It's crazy. I think you sort of like, I mean, I've been doing it for 11 years, maybe something like that. So over the course of the 11 years, obviously you sort of like really niche down and you find the couples that are right for you. And my couples are all like really fun loving and family orientated, and they're all about like enjoying the day and it all being about the guests as well. So I really feel like my couples are fun to shoot for me, if that makes sense. Yeah.
You feel like you get, I always say, I have guests say like at weddings and they come out with, the standard lines, do this full time, what's your other job, and all those kind of stuff. But then like, when you actually get into a conversation with somebody that's genuinely interested, I always say, I go to work and I never have a bad day at work. It's always the happiest day of somebody's life. Exactly. And I'm always surrounded by people that are buzzing and on the best day ever. So, I never have to go into the office and be like, oh, such and such is in a bad mood today.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think I'm such a people person as well. And I enjoy like meeting new people and sort of chatting with them and stuff like that as well. So no, you're right. You just meeting new people like every single weekend. It's just,
you got to be a people person,
yeah, definitely.
So you've recently become a MagMod Ambassador, I believe.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
For our listeners that might not have heard of MagMod, I remember actually vividly coming and meeting you and Neil, and you guys were like raving about it. And I was like, what is this? I've never heard of it. And I'm like Googling on my phone stuff behind people. Like, I feel like I should know what this is.
Yeah.
So let's kind of shed a bit of light for people that haven't got a clue like I didn't. What is it? What do you use it for? What's the system? Kind of talk us through.
So MagMod is an American-based company and they make modifiers for your flashes. So I think the best way to probably describe it is these modifiers can help you control the spill, the light, the color temperature of the light, and the MagMod, the name MagMod comes from the fact that it's all on magnets as well. So it's really quick and easy to use, quick to change. And they just give you so much creative control, especially, well, obviously when it comes to creating flash portraits or flash work, really. I use them every single wedding, on every single flash, anytime I use a flash.
Do you?
Yeah. I would rarely use a bare flash because I like shooting in camera like how things should look rather than editing it to how it should look afterwards.
Sure.
Because it gives you that creative control of even the color temperature of the flash. I just enjoy using them, and I enjoy how creative you can get with it all as well.
And back when you first started using them, did you find, like, I would imagine to the point where you don't use a flash without a MagMod accessory on it, did you find it was time consuming? Did you find it was like, I would imagine there's like a bit of a thought process when you first get going of, what do I need to do here? And, what does this situation need in terms of the MagMod accessories?
I think probably at first, yeah, definitely. And you learn what's good for you and what modifier works in what situation. So you've got some that'll increase the spread of the light and some that'll control the spill of the light. And then as I've said already, with the color temperature gels and the creative gels as well. So I think at the beginning I was using the color temperature gels because the light that comes out of a flash is very blue. So if you're in like an orange room, if you change that to orange and you change the color temperature on your camera as well, it really balances the light and it looks a lot nicer. And the effect you have by doing it right in camera, for me, is so much better than trying to figure it out after.
Yeah. It's kind of a way up there, isn't it? Because I guess when you come to processing those images and actually editing them, you're probably going to spend more time trying to correct it in Lightroom or whatever you're using to edit than it will probably take you to correct it on the day.
I think a lot of people are scared of using it as well. And
I know I was.
But I think that's part of the reason why, I know like you're probably going to get onto it, but like with the YouTube channel and stuff, because it's not a scary thing, and it will actually, when you understand it a little bit more, it actually makes your life a hell of a lot easier as well.
Yeah. I think flash in general as a topic
is
like something that photographers go, oh no, I bang that on my camera for the first dance and that's
it. Yeah. Sometimes get a little bounce card out.
Yeah, I was totally one of them. Absolutely. Before I came and met you and Neil, I was like, literally the only time I would put a flash on my camera was for first dance. And then it kind of just evolved over the course of the years. I mean, this is probably a really good episode for me personally, because I really need to get back into using them again and sort myself out and learn it all again, because you kind of forget it when you leave it for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, but what does this bit do?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I don't think I could use my camera with a flash on the camera, or I don't have a clue what TTL does or what the other settings do. I just know what I do, and I use it in manual. And the way I try and explain it to people is just treat it like it's like a window almost.
Yeah.
Use your flash in manual, put it where you would like some window light to be, and it's all of a sudden it becomes normal almost.
Yeah, definitely. So you touched on, you use, I guess, the MagMod system a lot for creative portraits, which is a bit of a specialty of yours, right? Like you look at your wedding work, and that's what really stands out as, amongst obviously all the other lovely stuff that you do in a wedding day anyway. But I remember seeing your work and thinking, holy shit, like how's she done that? So I think creative portraits, not necessarily even just with flash, but creative portraits in general is something a lot of photographers aspire to be able to do. They want those wow, epic, like shots that you're going to deliver to your client, and they're going to be like, is that me? So what are your tips? What can you say to our listeners? MagMod or no MagMod, how can they be creative and push themselves a little bit more?
I think that with the creative portraits, I think it's definitely, I mean, most photographers that do creative portraits will probably say it's only like 10% of the work that they actually deliver, because it's all about the people and the story, but it's trying to capture those moments in the most creative way. So I think at the beginning of my career, I was like really like driven by all the award systems that are out there, and I was just aspiring to be all these award-winning wedding photographers, like with Fearless, etc. And I used to really like study the pictures and think, like, I don't even know how they've created that, like how. And it led me to start a personal project. I think it was in 2015. And I started this personal project because I was lost basically in my own career and my style. And I was just going out and just shooting things. And it could have been on my iPhone, it could have been with my camera. And it was just learning me to sort of teaching myself to learn to see things that are right in front of us that you can make more creative. And I mean, this was like a massive journey in my career around that time. And I was just trying anything to be different and get more creative. And I think at one point I was even like shooting through a rolled up piece of paper at a wedding when I was second shooting, because I was like, what will this look like? And it was all about experimenting. And obviously that didn't work. And there was a lot of other failures along the way that didn't work. But now, like even in my office now, I can see loads of different things that will give me a creative picture, like water bottles or glasses or glass jars, or like even the wardrobes that are shiny behind. It's about sort of looking beyond the obvious, I would say, and finding things that are maybe shiny or reflective, or what can you shoot through. And even like when you're taking the kids to school or when you're walking the dog, just having a look around and sort of training your eyes to see those little things, so that when you're actually on a wedding day, it becomes second nature rather than got to find a creative portrait. You're actually just seeing it as a sort of second nature type thing.
Yeah, I think that is probably something that not many photographers already have in their arsenal necessarily. It's not, you think of yourself as a photographer, you're stood up or you're knelt down or you're pulled to one side, but you're shooting what's right in front of you, aren't you? You're shooting what you're seeing in terms of people or interactions or emotion or details. Your brain doesn't automatically go, oh, there's a glass there, I could shoot that through the glass. Or there's a mirror there, I could shoot that reflection. And I think that's probably one of the big learning curves, I guess, isn't it, for creative portraits, is not just shooting what's directly in front of you, trying to look at it through something else.
I think at the time I was like almost shooting 2 weddings. I was shooting the safe option, head height, safe, straight on. And then I'd be like, right, I've got that. How can I make this better? So like, I'm not saying go out and shoot everything through glasses or shoot everything as a reflection. I'm saying like, get your safe stuff, cover your back.
Yeah. 100%.
But then once you've got it, there's no need to get another 15 pictures of it. Go and try and get high, get low, just get a different angle to make it different.
Absolutely. I think it's something you've definitely got to train yourself to. You've got to be kind of on your brain, haven't you? Like when you go, I know I do, I go into a wedding in bridal prep and I'm like autopilot. I just crack on and do the things that you always do at bride prep. And I think that's also the nice thing about second shooting, right? Like when you go as a second shooter, you've got that space to be creative. You've got that space to stop and think and look around you. Whereas sometimes when you're the main shooter and, shooting creatively isn't necessarily ingrained in your brain yet, you're kind of just focused on, I need to do my job. I need to make sure my clients are happy.
Yeah. I think it's like not having the fear to fail as well. Like not every idea is going to work. And all these ideas that you see that have won awards and things, that's not their first attempts at doing that. Be kind to yourself and, try. If it doesn't work, fine. If it does, then you'll see it again next time.
Yeah, I remember seeing the evolution of was it used to be called like the Ring of Fire or something, like everyone was shooting through the little copper
piping.
And I remember first seeing a photo of that and thinking, that's a good sun flare, how have they done that? And then it as the weeks pass by, I'm like, okay, like again, I would have never thought of shooting through a little bit of copper pipe. It's like, not something you would generally have with you. It's something you've got to plan to think, that will come in useful at a wedding. But I guess as well, you can have like a bit of a toolkit, in your bag of things 100%. That you can shoot through and things that you've perhaps come across around the house, or, you've seen someone shooting through something on a Facebook group and bought yourself on Amazon, crystals, things like that. It can throw all sorts of shapes, can't they?
Yeah.
Awesome. So it leads us quite nicely creatively into a bit of a different topic, but kind of on the same wavelength. So I know so many photographers that they've turned up at venues and they've thought, what am I supposed to do with this? Bride's beautiful, groom's handsome, but the surroundings, like, where am I supposed to stand then? What am I supposed to do here? And again, you're a bit of a pro at turning very uninspiring backgrounds into something that you wouldn't even believe was shot there. So how do you do it? What's your secret?
I think the secret is practice, definitely.
Yeah.
But even if I turn up to a wedding venue and it's got the most pristine, like symmetrical gardens, or it's got a lovely staircase or a pagoda, I avoid them like the plague, because I think not every other photographer, but a lot of photographers will go to the staircase and they'll go to the pristine symmetrical garden. And you've got to think, what's going to make me stand out and what's going to give them ultimately something that's completely different to the next person. So even if I shoot a wedding at the same venue twice in the same weekend, I'll never go to the same spots for portraits, because I want each couple to have something that's theirs and not the next person's.
Yeah.
And I think that goes as well with just not shooting like what's on the tick list, basically. You're shooting for the couple. So as I've said before, it's shooting beyond the obvious. So like, get them the nice safe portrait, but what can you do? Is there any leading lines? Can you shoot down anything? Is there anything that's really shiny or puddles on the floor for a reflection? I mean, I've been known I've been known to like shoot in the craziest of places. Like even like last weekend or last week, I was on a shoot and I was shooting on a back street through some bins, like the biffa bins. Like one of them's like bright red and one's orange. I'm like, let's see what this looks like. And then you've got just like 2 blocks of color. But I quite often use these tools, if you will, like the blocks of color to hide a lot of the stuff that you really don't want to see in an image. So if I'm shooting through a bush there and there's like traffic cones behind them somewhere, I'll shoot through the bush in a way that the bush will hide the traffic cones, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So just trying to utilize the tools that you have from what you've learned in trying to take creative portraits to then really putting it into effect that will make your life a little bit easier. And I also think as well, if you can sort of just go out and go into a car park, see what you can find. Because if you can then shoot in these really uninspiring locations and find like all these gifts that will give you awesome pictures, then you can literally go to like any wedding venue, any shoot in any location, and you'll have like the tools in the back of your mind, right? I can look for this, I can look for this. And all of a sudden you've got a set of pictures that are going to blow your couple away because they just, all they're seeing is you hiding behind some bins.
Do you know, I was just going to say, in terms of like managing couple expectations, I mean, because you're so open and you've got behind the scenes stuff going on, and I would imagine that your couples are just like, yeah, we trust you, you know, you do you. But when you're kind of getting into that zone and getting into that space with your couples, how did you kind of manage the expectations when, you know, you're walking your couple out of these beautiful gardens and you're taking them down to a wall that's got some bins at the end of it, and they're like, this is our wedding, what are you doing?
I mean, I think it's definitely setting expectations at the beginning. Like my couples might mention a picture that they've seen and they're like, right, that's really creative. And it's about communication as well. And I'll let them know that I will get them some creative portraits. So on a wedding day, we'll have a session in the natural light. And then in the evening time, we'll either have sunset pictures if we've got a nice sunset, or we'll have something really creative. And I'll say, I can't tell you what that will be because it's what I see. And I said, you might just have to trust the process. And I might take you out into a car park. And not once has anyone ever said, what the hell are you doing? Or what? No, why?
Yeah.
I mean, I've shot in some crazy places, but I think it is just managing expectations from the beginning. And even doing a model shoot beforehand and building up these creative portraits, and then you've got something to show, to sort of show them that you're not actually just shooting some bins.
Yeah, I guess a lot of that is kind of feedback with the couple, isn't it? You know, you take something that you think, oh, you know, that's I'm pretty much there with that's usable, that's kind of what I intended it to be.
Yeah.
And if you're getting it semi right in camera, I guess, do you ever kind of say to the couple, you know, this is what we're achieving, like run with me?
No, I don't. I never, ever show pictures from the back of the camera because I think if you do happen to show them that one where they're not happy with how the nose looks or the chin looks or how their arm looks, that's all that's in their mind then, and their expectation is potentially negative because all they're looking at is how they look.
Yeah. Whereas
when you deliver a gallery or a preview and they've got like, I don't know, 50, and then when they get the full gallery, they've got like 500 pictures. They're not going to, I don't know. I try and manage it in a way that I want them to be excited to see it.
Yeah.
And not sort of be self-critiquing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. It's a difficult one, isn't it? I think, especially if you're, you know, your couples don't necessarily know you for these like mind-blowing, crazy portraits where you just think like, how has that come out of where we were stood? When you're getting into that zone, it's kind of just hoping that your couples kind of go with you.
I think when I'm shooting as well, you know, like I might be shooting the couple and I'm looking at the back of my camera thinking, what the hell? That is not going to work. But I'll be like, oh my God, guys, this looks amazing. You just look incredible. And I'll just keep with the positive vibes.
Yeah.
And then they get excited. And really I'm thinking, got to move on from this, got to move on fast. I'll never say that's not working or we need to move on. I'll take a couple and carry on and then move on. So I think it's just keeping, you know, don't necessarily let them know that that's a bad idea.
Yes, definitely. So you offer a rather large amount of education, don't you? You know, you're always giving back to the industry, trying to kind of teach others what you know. It's never a closed off door with you where you're like, no, this is, you know, these are my skills. I'm not sharing it with anyone else. So your YouTube channel is a big place that you do that, right?
It is, yeah. So I've got 2 YouTube channels. Why not?
Absolutely.
So yeah, my main YouTube channel is very much for photographers, in a sense of, on there you'll find tutorials on how I've created some of my off-camera flash pictures, and also like videos of shooting in an uninspiring location. So out the back, I live with fields at the back, but there's like a farmyard there, and it had like loads of derelict sheds and things like that.
Yeah.
And I take you behind the scenes on a shoot there from start to finish as well, so you can see my thought process and what I'm seeing and how I'm then using sort of those surroundings to create portraits like that. And then a vlog channel as well, where it goes a little bit deeper behind the scenes of weddings and like a bit more personality, I would say, and a bit more sass.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when you're creating those tutorials, if you like, you know, you're showing photographers the tricks of the trade and, you know, how you've done that, what do you kind of do you think that feeds back into your business? Is it that literally just your way of saying, you know, here's how I do it, go off and do it yourself?
I think I had a lot of help when I started, and I met some really great people in the industry that really just gave me the tips and the tricks. And I did a lot of second shooting. So I guess it is my way of giving back. But I'm also kind of, it's like giving people the tools and saying to them, you do this in your way. Because there's only one me. Like people will try and do exactly what I've done and it will never look the same. So there's no fear and a sense of competition in that way. It is literally, this is everything that I've got.
Yeah.
And it just feels nice to give back as well, doesn't it?
100%. Yeah. I think, you know, the people in our industry that are just, you know, constantly like, this is how I do this. This is how I do this. And, you know, you can jump into a photographer's inbox that you really aspire to be like, or, you know, you love their work and you just can't work out how they've done what they've done. The fact that they then come back to you and you're like, yeah, I did this, and this. And, you know, send me a picture that you've done, you know, send me your attempt and I'll give you some feedback. Like, that's amazing. It's what the industry needs, isn't it?
Well, every now and again, I'll have a message on my Instagram inbox and it's someone that's taken one of my ideas and turned it into their own. And it makes me feel really proud. I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually helping people and they've created something that they're blown away with.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look anything like what I created, but it looks amazing. And it's just so nice sort of having that feedback as well.
For sure, definitely. I think a lot of this, you know, a lot of the kind of the business side of it, we've spoken loads about, you know, flashes and business and how you got set up and all kind of the nitty gritty technical side. But I know that something that we've not touched on that is quite important to you is having kind of that positive mindset and making sure that, you know, you're feeling good about what you're doing. And I guess that kind of feeds back into your images, right?
Definitely. Like, you mean like personal mindset that comes back to the business?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure on photographers because everyone's out there showing their basically 1%. And what they're not seeing is like all those images that I've absolutely failed at or what the next person's failed at. They're seeing the absolute best of the best. And I think it's hard sometimes not to compare your full selection to people's 1%. So I think especially like with the, like awards and things, it's hard to not get sucked into, oh my God, I've not got anything, or I'm not good enough, or I think it's looking after yourself in that way, because even when you do win one, all you want is another one. Like, it never ends. So I think sometimes you've got to just step back and shoot for the couple, and have good communication with your couple as well. Like, especially at this time of year when we're all so busy and people are chasing you. Like, I'll have a day where I'm like, oh my God, like everyone's just messaging me at once and I don't know what to do. I think, right, just message them all back straight away, because otherwise it sits on you, and then the dread starts sinking in and you just get worse. So definitely my tips would be good communication. Don't let those emails build up. And I also have I have an iPhone, so I have different do not disturb settings. So at night time, I've got my do not disturb for sleep, which is basically everything apart from my emergency contacts. And then in the daytime, I've got a different do not disturb that's basically all my social media. Because what I don't want to be doing is faffing around on Facebook when I need to be working.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which book or podcast maybe it was, but someone once said that if you get distracted from a task, it takes you 15 minutes to get back into that task.
Really?
So if you're looking at your phone like every 5 minutes, you're really actually not getting anything done.
Yeah, you've lost hours.
Yeah. And I mean, I also have time restrictions on apps as well. Like Instagram, I've got for like 30 minutes a day, I think it is. Because especially with the reels at the minute, I'll be sat there and I'll be like, oh, right, some pictures are just like sort of exporting. I'll just have 5 minutes. Next news, I've been on there 20 minutes and I don't know where the time's gone.
Literally the other night, I lost about 40 minutes just scrolling through reels, and I looked back up and was like, where's that gone?
I know. And it's like, what have you got for that? I mean, you might have had a few like lols, but
yeah,
which is good. But yeah, you can just waste hours, can't you? So yeah, time limits on apps. And I have a Facebook newsfeed eradicator. So I don't have any newsfeed on Facebook. It's just groups and messages, which is definitely helpful as well, because that's somewhere else where you can lose hours of time.
100%.
And then if I'm really busy as well, I'll just delete some of the apps off my phone for a while.
Brutal.
Brutal, because then what happens is you go to your phone, you press your thumb where the app was, and you're like, oh, what's this? Notes? Why am I in notes? And sometimes I will swap them round. So like a productive app will be where Facebook was. Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, that's how much I pressed that out there.
I love that. So if you could start your career all over again, Toni, is there anything you'd change, anything you'd do differently?
I think the biggest thing I would sort of tell myself is stop comparing yourself to other people, especially when you're new. It's so easy. It's so easy to, oh, so-and-so's doing that, so-and-so's charging that. Now I just think it doesn't really matter what they're doing, because I've got my business and I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah. And it's hard at the beginning, but definitely just try and not compare yourself to other people, and believe in your craft as well. Because I spent like years like, I want to be a fine art photographer, I want to be a creative photographer, I want to be this and I want to be that. And ultimately try and not be someone else. Just shoot what you like, edit it how you like, and ultimately you'll probably find your style a hell of a lot quicker than I did.
Yeah, definitely. And if you could add a final piece of advice, something like the golden nugget takeaway, if you like, for today's episode, something that maybe made a big difference to your business or your personal life, what would that one piece of advice be?
Oh, that's hard. I would say make time for you is probably the best piece of advice, especially like I say in the summer when you're busy. Like, make time for you, but be present in the moment when you do. Yeah, like it's hard when you work for yourself, because and especially as a photographer, that's like such a lifestyle job. You can be at work anywhere, you can work abroad, or you can take your laptop abroad. And in the past I've done that, and now I do regret doing that because I wasn't present in the moment with my family or my friends. So now I definitely try and have my phone on do not disturb when I'm with people, and be present in the moment and enjoy these quality relationships that we have in life as well.
Definitely. If our listeners would like to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
I would say, like, if they want to view any of the tutorials, then head over to YouTube. It's Toni Darcy Photo, I think, on YouTube, and Instagram, just Toni Darcy.
Amazing. Absolute superstar. Thank you so much. I've loved catching up and picking your brains even more so on MagMod and all things photography.
Get back using it.
I know, I really need to. I really do need to. But thank you so much for carving out the time, and hopefully we'll catch up soon.
Yay.
Lovely. Thanks again, Toni.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye. Okay, guys, that's everything from me today. Thank you so much again to Toni for coming and catching up with us on the show, sharing all of her mental knowledge on MagMod and Flash, and teaching us all how we can do it too. If you'd like to see the show notes, you can head to www.studioninja.co/episode 68. As always, please don't forget to rate us on the podcast platform that you're listening on. A little bit of love goes a very long way. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of NinjaCast, brought to you by Studio Ninja. Beautifully designed and super easy to use, Studio Ninja will help you manage your leads, clients, shoots, invoices, contracts, workflows, and so much more. To learn more or start your 30-day free trial, go to www.studioninja.co.